What's up, guys? This is Kephas. And we are finally ready to get started with normal, classic style leveling, picking up the quest here right outside of Northshire as if we were a human. I'm going to start, as you can tell, in Elwyn Forest. I always like starting in early zones when I have like a slower mounts because they're designed for, you know, when you don't have a mount. So we're going to do that, and we're going to work our way through this zone and see how far that gets us, and then we'll go from there. At some point in time during this leveling, I think I'm going to go to Draenor, not permanently, just to unlock the Hearthstone and probably unlock the Legion Hearthstone as well, because having those extra Hearthstones are very, very helpful throughout the entire process. I've actually been using the Dalaran Hearthstone quite a lot in Shadowlands. It really helps to get back to town quick, because traveling is it's an interesting beast in Shadowlands. So yeah. And speaking of which, we are now in the post-launch of Shadowlands. Up until this point in recording, we've been sort of in the pre-launch phase, and now, as you can see, Christmas is here, or I should say Winter Veil, and Shadowlands is also here. So it's very exciting, and I have got a lot to say because I've been playing lots and lots of Shadowlands, and I have to say I really have been enjoying myself. Shadowlands has gone far above and beyond my expectations, for sure. I don't, I was debating like making a first impressions video, because I see a lot of people doing that, kind of thing, like, what are my thoughts? But I'm always really slow I don't want that quest, to kind of, jump out there and say, oh man, I love this expansion or whatever, because like every time a new WoW expansion comes out, I am always hyped for that. Like, I'm always into it. It's always fun at first, and then over time, maybe either it'll stay fun or it won't. It'll get like, maybe I won't be as interested in it after a while. And I didn't want to like, jump out there on the bandwagon kind of thing and be like, oh man, I love this expansion, and then be like in a month like, like I'm not into it now. But I will say on here, quite frankly, it's been like, this is what I would say actually, by the time I'm recording this, is actually about the 4th week into Shadowlands, believe it or not. So it's been a bit of a gap since the last time I recorded one of these episodes. And like, it's been nice. I've kind of deliberately waited a little bit because I wanted to get like pre-expansion in there, the pre-patch and kind of like the hype of that, and then kind of like wait a little bit until the expansion has been out for a little bit, see what I think about it, see how much I've been enjoying it, and then kind of give my thoughts. So it's been a month, basically, roughly a month since Shadowlands released, and I've been playing it very consistently, to the point that when Cyberpunk released, I was kind of like torn because I wanted to play that, and then I wanted to play this, and unfortunately that game kind of made my decision much easier because it was released in such a poor state that I just didn't even want to play it. So yeah, that's honestly, made that a little bit easier. But yeah, I don't really mind, honestly, because I love playing this game so much. Like, oops, I messed up. I almost want to get like a laptop again, just because I want to be able to like take WoW with me everywhere I go, because I've been having so much fun with it. Like, that's how much I enjoy playing Shadowlands now. It really is that fun. And there's so much about Shadowlands that I like. If I were like, I don't know how, I'd love to hear like in the comments, what do you guys think of Shadowlands? I'll ask that right off the bat, because I'm going to basically spend probably this episode and then some talking about how much I enjoy the expansion. And like, to put it like, just start it off, like, I would say this is the most fun I've had with WoW since Wrath of the Lich King. No joke. Like, I enjoy this expansion that much, and it's really like, it's hard to explain like quickly what it is specifically about it. I real quick, I've been playing my level 60 Ret Paladin now for a few weeks, and holy cow, it's a lot different when you're low level. It's very slow. So yeah, that's kind of a little bit of a shock to your system there. But anyway, there's a lot about Shadowlands that really just does it for me. In a lot of the areas where BFA kind of failed, trying to implement new, like in-game features, new in-game types of content that just didn't land. There's so much about Shadowlands that, at the very least for me, it does land. And almost all the mistakes that, BFA kind of had have been kind of fixed now, and that's something that I don't see Princess anywhere. We'll just ignore it. It's something that, you know, like, I'm very, very pleasantly happy about. I mean, like, just for one, I mean, a lot of the RNG is gone now. You know, no more Titan forging, no more legendary hunting, like, you know, like in even in Legion. You know, it's just straight up WoW. I mean, you can kind of like see what gear you're going to get. You kind of know the rewards you're going to be going for. You know, there's so much, you know, just like I know what I'm investing in, and I know what it's going to get me, and it feels like it's worth my time more. At least I can kind of see, you know, the carrot on the stick. You know, I know what my goals are. I know what I'm working towards. You know, whether it's pieces of gear, or it's, you know, the renown levels with your covenant, you know, that kind of stuff. It all kind of works together. I mean, even, you know, getting the anima, I know what the anima is going to unlock for me. You know, there's so much stuff like that that just really helps to make the game more, I don't know, like, it makes it feel like it's more worth my time. I know what I'm in, like what I'm investing in. I know what I'm getting into, and I know it's, you know, it's going to pay off, that kind of stuff. That kind of, like, you know, that really goes a long way, because, like, looking back in, you know, Legion and BFA, especially BFA, I always went for things where I knew what I was getting in the end, which usually for me was like a mount or an allied race. More often it would be like an allied race. I knew, like, if I do these sets of quests, or if I get this reputation to max, then that's going to allow me to unlock this allied race, and then it was worth doing for me. But if it was just like, you know, you might maybe get a better piece of gear, maybe, you know, or you can just keep kind of grinding this Azerite power indefinitely, like, that just didn't do it for me. I wasn't really into that, so I kind of just wouldn't do it. Whereas now there are so many different things to work towards that I feel compelled to do a lot more of the content. And so, like, right off the bat, like, that's the biggest thing, you know, about Shadowlands for me that works. You know, less RNG, more of a, you know, a very clear, direct path, you know, in terms of, you know, what I'm working towards, that kind of stuff. It really helps. So, yeah, I mean, and there's a lot of that. There's a lot of it, like the game laying down the path for you, you know, even, you know, with everything, man. It's kind of crazy, you know, how much of that there is. Even just looking at your conduits or your soul binds. Like, trying to get all the terms down is still difficult, you know, but getting all your soul binds and all that kind of stuff. And there is a little bit of, like, going out and finding conduits and stuff like that. But, you know, that's still kind of fun to do. But you kind of know, like, you know what your soul binds are, you know what they're going to lead to, you know what that kind of stuff is. And that's kind of cool as well. So there's a lot of, you know, there's a lot of that. I mean, that alone is, you know, it makes it a little bit more fun. You know, beyond that, though, like, what I'm actually doing is also very fun, and that's the other important thing. I mean, I like, you know, just even, like, man, there's so much to go over. It's I'm just kind of going stream of consciousness here, but like, you know, the Maw is one of the most incredible zones in the game to me. It's very unsettling. It's very reminiscent. I mean, I guess it's this game's hell dimension. It's hell, and they do a good job. It makes it. I mean, to me, the environment alone it's very uncomfortable. You know, just to be there, like, it's very, like, unsettling. And then, you know, everything about the Maw, and it can be frustrating at times for sure, because it's, you know, it's a very Dark Souls style of, you know, gameplay, but it does a good job, because, like, you know, you go to the Maw, there's a risk now, because when you die, you could lose, you know, your currency, I think it's like Stygia, you can lose that, and, you know, I mean, you can get it back, but you risk losing it permanently. And losing a good portion of it if you die. On top of that, the more you do there, the more dangerous it gets, because the more you do, the more the jailer pays attention to you. And that does a lot to, you know, to sell the Maw as being this dangerous place, but also sell the jailer as being a very dangerous figure. You know, and it's been a long time since I felt that kind of thing from an enemy. Where I was a little bit, I mean, for me, like, I know a lot of people say, like, you know, I'm not really invested in the characters, and I guess I can see why, because there isn't a lot of, you know, history there, but for me personally, I'm a little bit more invested, and I'm surprised, but a big part of it is just, you know, stuff like that. Like, you know, there's this jailer that's been scaring me all this time. Every time I go to the Maw, I've got to think about, you know, ticking, you know, what's going to happen if I tick him off, you know. And so, you know, you have an enemy. It's not just some, like, enemy that walks around, you can see it, how powerful it is, and you think, man, someday I can take this thing down. With the jailer, I mean, yeah, we kind of know, I'm sure eventually we're going to face him or stop him or thwart his plans, even if we don't, end him or whatever. But at the very least right now, there's no real way to stop him from hurting you or being a threat to you. And you can't even see him, is what's crazy. So, like, I always compare, like, Arthas is kind of the gold standard for me when it comes to boss, like, the big bad of an expansion, right? And in Arthas, you saw him all the time. He had his fingers in every quest line. It seemed like he was there all the time, a big threat. With the jailer, you've seen him a couple times, but his presence is always there somewhere. And especially in the mall, because even if you don't see him, he's so dang powerful that he can be a threat to you even without him being there. And I think that does a good job, because it's kind of like how movies used to do, like, where you would never see the monster, and it was more effective that way a lot of times, because, like, usually when you actually see the monster, it doesn't even come close to being as scary as what you were envisioning, kind of thing. And that, to me, that's kind of how the jailer is in a way. Like, I mean, you know what he looks like, so it's not like it's not like you haven't seen what he looks like, but you don't know what he's capable of exactly. I mean, we've seen some pretty crazy things from a lot of enemies. We've seen Deathwing shatter the world. We've seen Sargeras stab the world with a giant sword. I mean, we've seen a lot of crazy stuff, but we really, truly don't know specifically what the jailer himself can do. And I think that's kind of interesting. I mean, like, even though we know what he looks like, which, he looks cool. I think he looked cooler, with his like, where they kind of portrayed him where he looked like he had like a Lich King style helmet on. Kind of a shame that he's not got that going on. But even then, he still looks pretty cool. I mean, he looks pretty intimidating for sure. I mean, he's definitely one of the coolest, the more interesting villains we've seen in a while. I think, at least that's my opinion. So, and it's really funny too, because like I said, there's so much to talk about. So, forgive me. But it's really interesting because, like, I remember in the last series at some point, waiting for Shadowlands, like, I wasn't super interested at first because, like, I wasn't really a big fan of Sylvanas taking out taking out Bolvar. I wasn't a big fan of that. I was a little bit afraid of, like, where they were going to go with Sylvanas, which I honestly still don't like too much in terms of her character, but I do like what it's led to. But I remember saying, and I'll talk about Sylvanas later, it's kind of funny actually, I remember saying, like, I'm not usually into celestial stories. Like, I'm more interested in, like, the more grounded storylines. Like, I think the biggest interesting part of Arthas's storyline was, he was a good person. He was a paladin, a servant of the light, and there's this, like, grounded story of him, falling, him, backsliding or whatever you want to call it, just falling out, falling, losing his way, I guess. And I thought that was what was interesting about him, and a good character. You have, like, the second and third war in World of Warcraft storytelling. I think that stuff's very interesting. But when you get into, like, the void and the shadow and the light and, old gods and, titans and that stuff usually doesn't interest me too well. But oddly enough, I'm actually, forget the ore. We don't even need to. It's not worth the time. We'll find plenty out. I actually find this storyline to be really interesting. And it's funny because I've like I said, I've heard a lot of people say, like, I'm not, like, I find it's interesting, but I'm not really into it because I don't really, like, I'm not emotionally invested because of the characters. And I can kind of get that because there isn't, like, a lot of these new characters we've never known before. They're just kind of there. And, I guess I can see that. But at the same time, like, for me, the themes, the afterlife, and like the setup there. I mean, every zone, like, leveling through the game was very interesting for me because, for one, every zone was different, and that was nice. But they each had their own story, which I thought was really cool as well. I mean, like, I was really interested in the story, and I don't know if it's because, like, this is very known about me. I went to Bible school. I have a religious background. I've licensed minister and everything. So I know a lot about it. At least the Christian afterlife. You know what I mean? So, and I also know a lot about, like, Dante's Inferno, which this takes a lot of inspiration. It takes a lot of inspiration from other things as well. But I can see a lot of Dante's Inferno in this. And I'm a big fan of the Divine Comedy. I think it's really, actually did a lot more, like, I guess, research, reading it, and learning more about it, and recently, over the past couple years, because I wasn't too informed upon it, on it before that, but I was really interested in it because I'd heard a lot about it, but I didn't really know much about it, and so then I listened to some audiobooks, I listened to some, just people, talking about it, and just got some ideas about it, and I really found it really intriguing. So I can see a lot of the inspiration for Shadowlands and the world and how things are from Dante's Inferno. So there's a lot of that, and I think that's cool. I like that they're drawing from, because like one thing Blizzard can do very well is they can do a lot of religious symbolism and imagery and that kind of stuff. And I think if you've ever played Diablo, particularly Diablo 1 and Diablo 2, at least, to me, that those are the ones that stand out the most. You can see a lot of that, and they do a good job. So they know their lore, and I don't think they need to go full Diablo necessarily, but I think they've done a good job at translating that type of stuff into WoW, because like I've always liked the portrayal of the light, the light kind of being God in a lot of ways. I mean, in terms of just I should say the Christian God. Even if you look up the story when Arthas became a paladin and how he doubted himself and how the speech that Uther gives him, it's actually a very moving speech if you if you believe in redemption and salvation and that kind of stuff like I do. And I won't push that on people too much, but like if you believe in that kind of stuff, it's a very inspiring speech about grace and all that kind of stuff. So seeing that kind of stuff in the game is always interesting to me because I enjoy that kind of stuff. But beyond that, I suppose like that's where my connection is. That and just knowing that like what's happening, the struggle of a lot of the characters in the game, and where having to save them is I like that. Like if you're gonna take the main hero, like our character, and make a special, I suppose the way to do it is there's a little bit of like you're the one that the stone reacts to kind of thing. You're the special character here, which is whatever. But like I like the idea of well, everybody else is in trouble and the only person left to save them is you, so you're the one that has to go do it, whether you're special or not. That kind of thing I don't mind so much, but so I am a little bit invested in saving the characters that are in trouble, and just getting interested in the world of Shadowlands, that kind of stuff. For some reason, like I don't mind not knowing the characters too much, and I don't mind like I become interested in them very quickly. Like for some reason, the Primus sticks out to me. I find the Primus very interesting. And a lot of the characters, I think the Nathrius is a really good villain. It's nice to have a villain like that. I guess the thing for me, like what I worry about with the story, is that they're gonna write all this cool, like all these cool characters, and maybe we'll get to know them a little bit. And before we really have a chance, before they have a chance to make their place in the story, their story's gonna end because we're gonna just kill them in a raid, if that makes sense. And I think that's the worst thing they could do. Though I don't want to spoil anything, but I always keep up with what's going on in the story, even if I don't raid. What they've done in the first raid seems to indicate that that's not what they're going to do. They're going to try to keep characters around, and I think that could be the best thing. At the very least, I think an effective thing to do is, make sure that there are high stakes. You know what I mean? Like make sure that that the characters aren't a joke, that we don't just go out there into a raid. They make their presence known. We go into a raid, we finish them off, and we never see them again. Kind of like how they did the old god, the Nyalotha, or whatever. The one from Nyalotha, Inzoth, that's his name. I mean, that was a horrible execution on that character. But I think that had a lot more to do with just BFA needing to be gone. Unfortunately, they had to use up a lot to get there. But they definitely need to do a better job at making characters, for one, and not in an annoying way either, because I'm ready for Sylvanas to go. I was happy to see Nathanos go. But I like having villains that are a threat, that I'm interested in. I mean, look at the Joker. Joker is my favorite villain of all time, and I never get tired of seeing it. You know what I mean? So like, I guess I guess what I'm saying is WoW could use a few jokers. Like it doesn't need a rogues gallery necessarily, but there does need to be a very strong villain. A very strong threat that as a player I can be invested in and sort of in a way not like really afraid of, but like afraid of in the game, if that makes sense. And I feel like the Jailer does a pretty good job at being that character, kind of. Like I said, he still needs more establishment, but certainly going to the mall, I feel the danger of the Jailer. I feel that he's a threat, and I mean a literal translation in terms of me being in the mall and not being able to stay there for too long, because if I do, he's gonna take me out. So I think that's a very effective way to put the Jailer over as a threat, and and make this world a little bit more interesting. So like, I'd love to hear what you guys think about it, but as a story, I'm interested in it. I really am. I'm surprised, but I guess like, it's easy for me to kind of like, I mean, they're like, I don't know how to explain it. It's weird how sometimes like characters I'll meet a new character and I'll be like, this character is cool, they're interesting. Like my wife and I were watching, I don't want to spoil anything, but we were watching the new Star Wars, because we watched the Star Wars movie. She's never seen any of them, and I hadn't really paid attention to them. I was never a big Star Wars fan until more recently because of The Mandalorian. So we watched all the movies, and we liked them. I mean, we pretty much liked pretty much all of them, even the newer ones. We didn't really hate them. I mean, at all. They weren't nearly as bad as like what we were told they would be. But there certainly were things about them that we didn't like, I guess. And a lot of it, like a lot of the problems for me with the newer movies, like the prequels had their own problems as well, but like the newer series, one of the problems for me was that I didn't care about half the characters. I just wasn't interested in like Rose, the Rose character, for example. Really didn't care about her that much. I really wasn't really invested in her. So like I understand how important it is to establish a character and make them, a character that the audience or the players should care about. So I can certainly understand for people that maybe don't feel that connection with any of these characters. But for some reason, I actually do feel a connection with a lot of these characters. For some reason, I feel interested in the Winter Queen. I don't know why. I just find a lot of like all of it really. I'm just interested in seeing where it goes, I guess. Maybe it's because it's something fresh, or maybe it's just like I said, I like afterlife kind of stuff. I like the themes, but for whatever reason, like I like it. I'm interested in it, and I'm interested in seeing. I was wondering if that spider was going to be here. It's a lot bigger when you're a dwarf. That's what she said. Anyway, so yeah, so like I'm really interested in the story, and I'm like I don't know, just for whatever reason. I mean, like I said, a lot of the reasons I've explained already, but Shadowlands is definitely doing it for me, man. Like I'm really, I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I'm really into WoW. So much so that like, I mean, with Legion there at the end, and especially with BFA, what really got me through that era of WoW was YouTube. I mean, making the YouTube guides. And then, like in Legion, making money was really fun, like with the mission table, even though it was broken, and just doing guides, doing Let's Plays, that kind of stuff, that really got me through it. But I'll be honest, you guys, now I kind of have to like make myself stop playing the game normally to do YouTube stuff. Not that I don't enjoy doing YouTube stuff, but because I'm having that much fun with the game. And I'm glad, man, like cause like I love classic, and then like I'm still going to do classic stuff as well. And I think that like I mentioned in a previous episode, like I'm happy that Blizzard has, they've finally chosen a direction that they want to take the game in. And I think it's paying off. I think it's fine. Like they finally picked the, direction. Leveling in the game is for retail WoW, leveling is better than it's ever been since the old days, in my opinion. And what's nice about it is, I think that having classic and having retail, and retail taking this new direction, I think it helps both games. It helps both games shine, because you've got the old way, the old style there still, but you've also got this new, direction that Blizzard's taking things in. And I think that both of those things have their appeal. And they will appeal to, sometimes, they'll appeal to people like me, because sometimes I'll want to dig deep in the classic and get into that and get my grind on. And then the other times I'm just going to want to do some of the newer things in retail and just have a more relaxed, casual leveling experience. And and that's just for the leveling, never mind the end game. So I think it's nice to have both. I think it kind of has a similar effect that RuneScape has, because you've got old school, which I never really got into, but I know a little bit about like the how people feel. Like one might be more popular than the other, but both of them have their appeal to people. And I think that having the existence of both helps the other be more appealing, because each of them have their own strengths, if that makes sense. So I feel like it works the same way here. So like while you have a more like, I don't want to say interesting, but like you have a different leveling experience in in Shadowlands than you have in Classic. So, and I like it. I really like the scaled leveling experience in Shadowlands. I like that it's not too long, but it's also kind of like there's a lot of choice. There are a lot more choice now. That's the big benefit, in my opinion. And there's so much I have to skip over because I'm getting attacked by so many enemies. But the biggest benefit for me with the leveling in Shadowlands is how much choice there is. And I like that. That it's not an important choice necessarily, but it's there. And so I really feel like that helps a lot with the leveling experience. And then you get into endgame, and there's still some choice. I mean, we're still going to have the problem where, like, a lot of this stuff, a lot of this endgame stuff kind of, it'll end with the expansion, like your Covenant, your Conduits, all that stuff that you've worked towards won't mean anything next expansion, which is unfortunate. I do think that if there's a step and if they want to take another step in the right direction with WoW, when it comes to expansions, it's adding on to the game, not just temporary things. Like, don't make the expansion, fun just when the expansion's live, and then afterwards it means nothing. Like, that's unfortunate that seems to be the way they want to do things, because, it's, I mean, after, like, you can never really go back and level up your artifact weapon again. That's unfortunate. It'd be cool if there was a way they could have translated that into something, something that, helps your character, build your character in a way in the game. Not that you would use the artifact weapon, but maybe that you would unlock, like when you go through this part of the game, you'll unlock this artifact weapon, and it will unlock more stuff for your character. You could totally skip it or whatever, but I don't know. I don't even know how I would do it. But like, there's stuff like that I kind of wish that they could somehow make each expansion matter in the long term. And so, not in terms of like 120 levels, because that doesn't work well, but some feature, some new addition that adds more to your character, more to your experience, beyond just extending the grind. I don't know how they do that. I don't know what that would be, but I think that would be kind of cool. Anyways, totally getting off topic there. But I mean, other than that though, like, I know that while, at least for now, I mean, we'll see how it goes as time goes on, but like for now, for me, Shadowlands is definitely, it's crazy. Like, it really blows my mind, because I wasn't expecting it to be as good, at least to me, to be as good as it is for me. Because it really, like, I really am enjoying myself. I mean, I'm talking, I ask my wife, I don't shut up about it. I'm always like, oh my gosh, just check out this place, it's crazy. So like, I mean, the mall, I mean, there's Torghast. Torghast is like one of my favorite things to do, like, in WoW. Like, it's in my opinion, one of the best additions to the game that the game has ever had, in terms of like, interesting single player experience. Like, it's really fun. Like, I really enjoy doing it. Like, just the thing, like, going there to, like, I'll go there and, like, I didn't even know this was a thing, because I didn't do Torghast at first. I kind of, like, was just doing other stuff, or just like, okay, I'll get there. And then, like, I go there and I do it, and I unlock another follower from my mission table. And I was like, oh, you can do that here? There are things to unlock in here besides just getting Soul Ash? Like, wow, that's kind of crazy. And so, like, there's all kinds of stuff. And, like, just the whole thing, like, I remember doing the Withered thing in Legion, and that was kind of cool. That was kind of like the first test, I guess. It's kind of funny. Like, it's almost like BFA just shouldn't have never happened, because like I feel like a lot of what Shadowlands is taking what worked with Legion and making it better, way better too. And it's almost like BFA never happened, which is really funny. But you know, I don't know. But anyway, like it just, you know, like going off like the withered stuff, and then now you have Torghast, and I feel like Torghast is by far the most interesting, you know, like single player experience out there, and just going there to unlock stuff, getting, you know, working towards a currency, and seeing where that gets you. Like just going in, like each floor is like almost like a little bit random, and you know, like just like there were a couple of fights that I had to like figure out how to do, and they weren't too hard for me so far. They haven't been too hard, you know, but there have been, you know, a couple that like I did wipe a couple times, and I had to kind of figure out what the deal was. Like there was a guy I fought where he got more powerful the more you moved, and so I was like, okay, so I got to stand still, but there are a couple of attacks that he does are very dangerous, so I got to bubble through that, like kind of like coming up with my own strategy, like, and it worked, you know. And I've always felt like, you know, single player content didn't belong in an MMO, and that's, you know, I've kind of gotten over that a lot. I've kind of gotten over myself a lot with that kind of stuff. Like I feel like, you know, there is a place for it. I feel like it works pretty well. And I mean, I don't know, man. Like I actually enjoy it. I feel like it's because like WoW still has its, you know, it still has all of its, you know, its on, you know, like multiplayer, you know, experience. It's all there still. Like you can still do all that kind of stuff, which is important, obviously. But it's still nice, you know, to also have this single player experience as well. Sorry, just kind of doing this pet battle because it's free XP. You might as well do it, right? So yeah, there we go. Okay, so we got that one down. So yeah, man, like I enjoy it. I like having a lot of single player stuff to do. I like having a lot of this stuff to do at end game. And I don't know, I'd love to hear what you guys think, because there's so much more that I could talk about. But like I'm having the time of my life, my life in Shadowlands. I mean, it really is a lot of fun. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about it. Like that's kind of like, I guess if I was to have a first impressions, it's been a month out now, and I'm still loving it. But I would love to hear what you guys think about it. Are you guys having fun with Shadowlands? Are you enjoying the story? What do you think of the jailer? You know, let me know in the comments below. We're going to continue this leveling experience. I'm going to go over and get this ore, and we are going to continue our leveling experience on the next one. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, let me know by clicking that like button. And feel free to share it with your friends so they can enjoy it as well. And if you'd like to see more videos, you can subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon to be notified as soon as new videos are posted. You can also follow me on Facebook, and if you'd like, you can support my work on Patreon. Links to all that stuff can be found in the description below. This is Kephas. Until next time.